Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First off, I want to thank this commission for standing by for me to get here, for being a little bit late. I apologize about that, but thank you all so much. It means more than you'd ever know. With that being said, we'll call this study session to order, and I'll catch my breath. Okay, Mr. Ellis, you want me to take this, or you want to start with it?
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and get things kicked off, if you don't mind. So, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, we have, I think, 5 things that was listed to discuss this evening. The first one is a follow-up based upon the discussion at our last study session at last month's meeting, and that is manager selection process. As I stated at that time, the way I see it is there's 3 options: an appointment, perform a search with internal resources, utilize assistance of MTAS, utilize the services of a recruitment firm. In our charter, it only states that the Board of Commissioners appoints the city manager and city judge, and there's not really a defined direction within the charter of how to appoint. I do want to point out, over the past 5 years, these cities, Germantown, Gatlinburg, Sevierville, Alcoa, Springfield, Morristown, Murfreesboro, Kingsport, Cookeville, Tullahoma, all have made appointments of employees that were already in place instead of doing searches, with the exception of Murfreesboro, where they interviewed the 2 deputy city managers that were there, but that was the only 2 that was interviewed. Search with internal resources would, in doing so, we'd have to determine the competencies that this board would look for. It would be advertised in TML, TCMA, ICMA, LinkedIn. All applicants will be scored based on their qualifications. The board, in this case, would narrow the top qualified candidates, interview 3 to 5, 90 to 120 day process. That window could be shortened, but usually doesn't work out that way. Costs be between $2,000 and $15,000. Those costs are advertising, and if the applicant is not a resident close, the normal procedure is for the municipality to pay for travel expenses related to that. So that's the reason why it's such a large disparity there in numbers. Search with MTAS, this is email that I sent with you all. They would also determine competencies, advertise TML, TCMA, ICMA. They would score the applicants based on qualification. Board narrows the top qualified. Interview 4 to 5, duration 90 to 150 days. Cost basically the same. Search with a recruitment firm. You look at determine the minimum competencies. Advertise TMLs, TCMA, ICMA, and other professional trade magazines. The firm scores applicants based on qualifications. Firm does pre-interviews, qualified candidates. Board narrows top qualified. Board interviews approximately 5, duration 90 to 120 days. That is anywhere from $28,000 to $38,000. The proposals would not come in at that amount, but you would pay for it, but then you would also be paying the expenses of that firm that was doing the search, as well as you still will incur the cost of travel. So, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I just wanted to present that to you all kind of as the 4 options that was referenced last time. I just wanted to dig into it a little bit deeper and turn it back over to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Commissioners, we'll move on to comments.
I do, actually, and I prepared some information I'd like to talk about for this. Bear with me. You want me to go ahead? Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Is that better? So y'all bear with me for just a minute. I think that selecting the next city manager for the city of Goodlettsville is going to be one of the most important decisions this board makes during our time in office. As an elected official, I was hired by the people for the people. For the past 6 years, I've worked to do this with integrity, ask questions, gather facts, and make informed decisions that I believe are in the best interest of our community. I also want our citizens to understand that my perspective comes from more than just being vice mayor. Goodlettsville is my home. Some people may take that statement lightly, but for me it carries tremendous meaning. My family has roots here spanning 4 generations, nearly 300 years of combined history living here. So when I say I'm invested in Goodlettsville, this is not a political statement. This is a lifelong commitment for me. Because of that commitment, I had to take this decision regarding our next city manager very, very seriously. The city manager is the most important administrative position in our city government. Commissioners come and go. Elections occur every 2 years, and as soon as this November comes, we could potentially have more new faces seated on this board. Through those transitions, the city manager provides stability, continuity, and leadership. A great city manager can move a city forward for decades. The wrong city manager can set us back for years. That is why continuity matters. For more than 20 years, Goodlettsville has followed a successful succession plan. We have not stumbled into success. We have intentionally developed leaders from within. Former city manager Jim Thomas served as an assistant city manager before becoming the city manager. When he retired, this board promoted then assistant city manager Tim Ellis as city manager, where he has managed city for the last 15 years. Those decisions proved successful. Those succession plans worked. Those leaders were prepared before they were promoted. Today, we are once again in that position. Julie High has served as assistant city manager for 14 years. Before that, she served Goodlettsville for the director of finance, and she has a total of 22 years of service for the city. Her leadership extends beyond just our city. She serves as the vice president on the search committee for the University of Tennessee Institute for Public Services, and she chairs the Institute's advisory committee. She has served on statewide municipal committees, professional organizations, and leadership boards throughout her career. Simply put, she has spent decades preparing for this responsibility. In addition to my personal interview with Julie, I have also listened to department heads, city employees, business leaders, and residents, and one message has remained consistently consistent. They trust Julie. At this time, our city is facing some of the most significant projects in history. The Rivergate redevelopment project will shape our economic future for generations, and once TDOT lets the project, the revitalization of Main Street will require focused leadership and institutional knowledge. Infrastructure improvements, capital and projects, economic development initiatives, and long-range planning efforts are actively underway. These projects are very complex. They involve years of planning, countless partnerships, and extensive knowledge. This is not the time for a lengthy learning curve. It is not the time to hand someone a map and ask them to figure out where we are. Julie has followed the path established by previous leaders in our city. She has dedicated more than 2 decades of service, and she has spent 14 years serving as assistant city manager preparing for this role. Finally, I would like to point out, Goodlettsville is not unique, promoting qualified internal candidates, as Mr. Ellis has just showed us. Over 10 communities across Tennessee have recognized the value of continuity, institutional knowledge, when a proven successor is already in place. At the end of the day, each of the commissioners must make our own decision. My responsibility is to carefully evaluate the facts, listen to our employees, residents, consider the future of our city, and make the decision I believe is best for Goodlettsville. For me, the decision comes down to qualifications, preparation, continuity, and trust. We have a candidate with 22 years of service. We have a candidate with 14 years of assistant city manager experience. We have a candidate with extensive financial expertise, statewide leadership recognition, and the confidence of department heads and employees. We have a candidate who understands our projects, our people, our history, and our future. Most importantly, we have a candidate who already has demonstrated her commitment to Goodlettsville every single day. Our responsibility is to ensure Goodlettsville continues moving forward with strength, stability, and confidence for future generations, and I believe that's Julie. That's all I have to say.
Vice Mayor, that was as well as spoken. There's nothing you could have said or anything I could say to add to that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think we all feel this way about Julie. I think it's it would be an honor for her to even take the position to serve for us. I've interviewed her. I've talked to other city managers, other city commissioners, and other mayors, and yet to find a bad spoken word about Ms. High. Everybody seems to know Julie. Everybody seems to love Julie. And I don't think and as the vice mayor said, there's nobody going to come in here and define a better map that she already knows. So I 100% support and agree with the vice mayor with everything she just said.
Like I said, it's just a work session, so that's why I wanted to speak my mind today.
I agree totally. I do appreciate y'all doing all that talking, so I don't have to, because y'all said everything I was thinking. Because y'all
I'm
know
done
I'm
for
a big
right
talker
now.
and I take up a lot of time. I do want to thank, though, the city staff, the department heads, and even employees for the emails. Just reading their emails tell you what they want and what they feel about Julie. It blew me out of the water to get them, and I appreciate y'all sending them. I'm with the mayor and vice mayor. This is a pretty easy decision, I believe. I don't see no reason of going outside. I don't see no reason in our meeting we're going and taking care of this situation. That's my opinion. I do want to ask Mr. Ellis something. What did MTAS tell you on your conversation?
When my first conversation to them, the question was, why not just go ahead and appoint Julie? Now, they're more than willing to assist. I mean, they wasn't trying to get out of work. I was just the respect that they had for what respect they have for Ms. High.
Well, them and everybody else, I believe, especially me. And I believe you'll do a fine job. I believe if something happened where Mr. Ellis couldn't assume his duties tomorrow, you could step right in and not lose a step. And we'd still be choo-chooing down the train track as fast as we could go. And that's about all I got to say. Y'all took care of the rest of it for me.
I'll make a couple of comments if I could. Completely agree. I also want to thank everyone that's reached out to me. I've had a number of just wonderful conversations. I think I've spoke with every department head in the city, your email, text, phone, social media messages, you name it, all in regards to the selection and hiring process for Goodlettsville's next city manager. And with each of those conversations, I've read, listened, and reflected upon every discussion I've had and every communication I've received. And as I've said before, this is a very important decision, and it's one that I take big responsibility for, and I think we owe it to the residents of Goodlettsville who elected us to take it seriously. There's been a lot of conversation about whether or not to do a search. I know I spoke early on about the benefits of that. I think there are many benefits of doing a search and whether or not to do one. But one thing I want to make really clear is that me speaking about doing a search should not be perceived or in any way interpreted to mean that we do not have a qualified assistant city manager. Some of the messages I received seem to think that it was an insult in some way to even mention the possibility of a search. Me mentioning a search was really to owe it to the people who elected me to make sure that I'm doing this elected role in the best way I possibly can. So I just want to clear that up. I have had a number of conversations with Ms. High. They've been wonderful. I have no question whatsoever about her qualifications, her experience, her vision, and her heart for the work here in Goodlettsville. So it sounds like we're all kind of on the same page, but if we decide to not do a public search, what I would open to the board, I'm curious what your thoughts are, if you would be open to doing another study session, call it an interview, call it a get to know Ms. High sort of thing, so that we can all together ask her questions in a public setting, so we can all be on the same page about her vision, her style, her leadership qualifications, and what she would bring to the city, so we can hear it from her. And it also welcomes the public in to get to know Ms. High as well. I just don't think anything can be, I don't see any negative to doing that. Of course, granted that, assuming Ms. High would also participate in that as well. But I just think it's a great way to just all come together on the same page, because one thing I do want to make sure is that when we get to the point of appointing somebody, that we're unanimous in that decision. I think that's really important, and I think our next city manager deserves for us all to be unanimous in that decision as well, so that we're all together, united behind a single candidate as they step into this leadership role. So that's kind of what I had prepared. I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts on doing that, if you'd be open to it.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Just to come up the end here, so to speak, I too have had, a few discussions with Ms. High, and was a lot of good encouragement there, and she is one smart lady, if I could say that. I too appreciate the department heads. Some citizens reached out to me, some of the employees. To me, I think, and I share with Ms. High, nobody can do anything any nicer than to speak on your behalf the way they did for you. And I appreciate all you guys having given me that trust and confidence to reach out to me, and the way you guys did. So as far as one thing that was mentioned about a search, just to clarify, I did do a little bit of homework with the help of some others, and Greenville, Tennessee used MTask, and they went through the process to the point where they made the decision to switch to a private firm, and that was up in upwards of 20-something odd thousand, and it took, I think it started in October, and I think in April the 21st is when they made the decision to change. So I know the search was an option. I apologize, I was not here last month. I was at my niece's graduation, and appreciate you guys being open and sharing your thoughts. So I just say, I don't think that the city of Goodlettsville needs to spend any money when we have the candidate that we have right here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilmore. Before we move on to our next item here, I'm going to speak in behalf of, there's a few people in here that know Miss Ann, or knew Miss Ann. She was probably one of the most outspoken people that I'd ever met that worked for the city. She filled out my paperwork when I got hired. I bought the property next door to her, from her, and built a house next door to her. And she used to come over there on countless occasions. And more than one time, more than 50 times, one of these days, Julie High better be my city manager. I'll come back and haunt you. So I did want to share that, Julie. Miss Ann thought the world of you. She loved you like, I guess, obviously, from every call we've all received, I have never seen a person have more support in any position in my life than you have from your city employees, or what's fixing to be your city employees. And the night that Mr. Ellis told the board here that he was retiring, as soon as he told me that, the first thing that popped in my mind was Miss Ann. I gotta step up and take a role here. So I asked Mr. Ellis before he left the room to have Miss High call me, and she called me before I got out of the parking lot, and my words to her was, Miss High, would you please consider this position? I knew the second that Tim was leaving us, there wasn't going to be anybody that could fill his shoes better than Julie High. She's by far, well, we've all looked up to her financially for her genius with numbers, and Julie, I just think it'll be an honor and a pleasure and just to have you even take this position for us. That's all I got to say.
Can I say something?
You sure can.
I just want to thank all of you. I mean, no matter what happens, thank you so much for your kind words and your support. I appreciate all of it, and especially from all of my wonderful coworkers and friends. I appreciate you so much. And anyway, I just really appreciate the support from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I would like to add one thing, no matter what direction this goes, you know where I stand, because I've communicated that, but I do think it's very significant that whoever the next city manager is to have, right off the bat, the support of everyone. And I'm hearing that this evening, but the only way to truly show it is to have a unanimous nomination. I have friends who take jobs with a 4-3 vote, and it's an uphill battle every minute of the day for them. That's just one thing I'd ask for everyone to truly consider if that's the direction that this board goes, to show that support.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis.
One quick question. What does, just opening up to the floor, what kind of timeline are we thinking of when we would want an agenda item on our formal agenda to vote on a decision to name an appointment? When, next month, August, when should we consider doing that?
ASAP.
Yeah?
I mean, there's no sense in wasting any time. I mean, it's as soon as we can make it happen is what I recommend.
I'm sorry.
Okay, please.
I see where you're coming from with the public interview and everything. With the meetings I've had with Julie, that's all I need to know, just knowing her in general. But to me, I don't have to have another type of interview with her. And like I said, I can understand where you're coming from. I'm with Mayor Tin, and I think tonight we need to go ahead and get this took care of.
What?
And to your respect, Commissioner, I mean, I wouldn't call it as much as interview as maybe if the citizens wanted to come to get to know Julie.
Sure.
And talk to her more so than an interview, but.
And I think it's important that they hear from her too, because we've all had conversations. I think we're all on the same page with what she would bring to the table. But I don't know if I want the community to also hear that. I'm really big on public and making things available and getting the community on the same page, and for them to understand how this process works, who Ms. High is, and her vision and her ideas that they could very soon see kind of leading our city forward. So I think it would be important to have something like that, like it's the five of us and it's a public sort of thing where we can hear her sort of address us and what she would bring to the table. Similar to, I'm sure, similar conversation pieces from each of our individual conversations with her. I think it can only show the public, or it can only put confidence on us by the public that we're doing our duties well and that we have the perfect candidate for the role. I think it can only help everyone. And it makes Julie a stronger candidate as she would step into this role.
I would just echo, Commissioner Walker, I understand where you're coming from. I think it'd be a really good opportunity for the public to get to meet her. But I do think, as far as when we speak of the appointment, I think, too, that it needs to be something that we need to do sooner than later. Mm-hmm. You know, Mr. Ellis has done a fantastic job as a city manager in his tenure here, but if Julie had taken the position, she would have a direction of her own, and maybe to cut down on anything being in limbo. I think the sooner we can make that transition smooth, the better off I think the city will be.
Yeah, do you think, I mean, we obviously can't, it's not on our agenda for this evening, but July, is that?
I would concur if that's as soon as we could.
But just add this to the July agenda, and then
I don't want to.
Yeah.
are we open to doing something public prior to that, like 30 minutes prior? Call it a study session, or, may have to formally be a study session so we can all discuss it.
So I'm kind of lost. I'm not sure what we're doing. I mean, are we doing an interview, or are we doing a meet and greet, or are we doing?
I would say more, I don't think there's any necessary to do an interview. I think we know where we're headed. I mean, I would, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, but it would be more of a meet and greet to get to know her rather than an interview. Is that correct?
I mean, not so much a meet and greet where there's a shaking hands with everybody walking through a line, but more of a let Julie kind of address us and kind of make some, what she would bring to the table, kind of a, first 90 days in a role, what are some of the things that she would want to do? I would just kind of love to hear if this board's open to having that kind of thing.
Commissioner Walker, Ms. High said she would love to have a study session for the public, and more so less than questions, but to lay a format out for her future.
Sure, and we can let her know in advance, kind of.
But I still don't think
structure.
that should stop us from making a decision.
No, this has nothing, I'm going to go ahead and say, that has nothing to do with the decision.
Yeah,
This
I think
would
it's
This
more-
would be totally something that she wants to share her vision for the city.
And I think
With-
that's
yeah.
wonderful. It's a good,
So that all at the same time, we hear it, the public hears it, it's just it's great all the way around, I think.
it's a good transition.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see that being maybe half hour prior to our July meeting, and then we'll have an agenda item on the July meeting to make an official appointment. Is that fair?
Yeah, perfect, okay.
My understanding is we have an agenda item tonight, either to select a procedure or to, and it reads, consider and possibly take action on the method of selection and appointment for the position of city manager to assume.
I've already read
I
it
think
like
at
20
that time
times.
tonight, you're meeting if this board, with a motion and a decision as to how the format would be, if it's a formal study session, special meeting, or whatever, prior to the meeting, for her to address, give a vision, however you want to format it out, and move on at that point in time for decision one way or the other.
Or tonight.
Doesn't hinder us from doing it tonight.
But my reading of the agenda tonight is, I thought that the only decision that can be made under that is how to select and appoint the role, not a name. I don't think we could actually name an appointment tonight.
I
What was the intent
I
behind
think
it?
it's vague enough, it could, when I say vague, it's kind of generic.
The way I read it, we can,
For selection and appointment.
yeah, for a selection and appointment.
Well, take action on the method for
For
selection
selection.
and appointment. The method is either we do a search, we don't do a search. It doesn't say take action on the appointment. So I'm not trying to just be super technical, but my understanding is that tonight's, the only decision to be made tonight was on how, on whether we want to do a search or not do a search. I don't think that this agenda item lets us actually name somebody.
Notwithstanding, the charter doesn't really specify how that appointment, I think the general consensus is that would be done in an open meeting by vote, and obviously, I think a broad interpretation, Mr. Walker, you may choose to disagree, would be for the selection and appointment, possibly take action on the method for selection and appointment, and obviously, if we're in an open meeting, I believe that would encompass being able to take action.
Okay, well, I would certainly disagree with that opinion as well, but I do appreciate it. Yeah.
It may boil down to a strict compliant reading, but if we choose to go forward, obviously with a vision statement by Ms. High, a work session prior to, and then be officially on the agenda, that would be a choice of board.
Wow, yeah. Why-
But I
would just
definitely
read-
would not wait 30 days to do this.
I
Guys,
agree.
and I said this when I let you all know of my retirement. I've let you know this in my letter to you all, and I'll let you all know this in communications in regards to support of Ms. High. There are certain things that's going on in our community that is having to be tackled, that's not really global, but it's stuff that Ms. High don't work on every day. One of them is sewer capacity. We are at two of our points in our city in which we're about to stop growth because we got no more sewer capacity. Those negotiations and conversations with Metro Water, yes, I can take Ms. High with me, but if somewhere down the road she's not put in this position, it is the most awkward thing I probably would have ever dealt with. So, and that's just one of about 10 that is ongoing right now. So if that's what the board would like, I would strongly encourage you not to wait 30 days to do something of that nature.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Any more questions on the city manager new appointment?
Well, then I guess where does that put us? Are we naming Ms. Hyde this evening? Is that what this board is
that'll be-
preparing to do? Because then I guess everything I just said about having a public opportunity for the people to hear from Ms. Hyde and for us to all together address, then why do that if she's the city manager as of this evening?
So, I mean, we can still go through and let her do her vision for the future, even if she's already appointed or in the appointment for that position. I don't see there any reason.
Yeah.
She's agreed that she would love, I mean, she told me she'd like to do that with the citizens, so we could set that up for the next meeting to let her go ahead and do that, whether we make the appointment or not.
Okay. I wish I just had a little bit more notice that this was the intent of that, because that's not my reading of that agenda item. But I'll rest my case on that.
From a time point that'd be Mr. Ellis, and I know that obviously he's got some concerns there, on behalf of the city, but if it required a special meeting, it could be a special meeting. That could be the only agenda item.
I just don't think it's necessary.
Is that a question?
I guess I read it like you.
We're in a work session.
Yes.
Well, the next study session item is probably going to generate the need for a special meeting regardless. So if it passes tonight. In other words, we would have to have a meeting before the next meeting.
Which is not a problem. That's not a problem.
I mean, like I said, if that's where we're headed, we still, by a July 6th date, would have to approve an ordinance in regards to a sales tax referendum if we went that route as well.
Any more questions? All right, Mr. Ellis, let's move on to the next item.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, one of the things on the agenda this evening, and I apologize, it was not discussed more prior to it being placed on the agenda, is the opportunity to have a local option sales tax referendum in the city. The advantages of a local sales tax referendum is it's voted on by the residents. It's not something that is approved by this board. Referendum can only be held on a primary or general election date, can't have a special election, and the ordinance must be submitted to the Election Commission 120 days prior to the election date. Increase local option sales tax by 0.50%. In our case, 0.50% equals $3.3 million. In comparison, $3.3 million would equal a 27-cent property tax. If the county ever passed, this is one drawback to a local option referendum, the amount collected would be reduced to 0.25%. Having a lot of conversations with the state and with Metro Election Commission, the state today says that we would not be able to have a referendum in Davidson County since they have maxed out the 2 3/4%. The state is wrong from the perspective that 0.5% is for transit, and that is more of a surcharge and as allowed by the Improve Act. And plus the fact if that's the case, we should have been receiving 0.25% of that 0.5% ever since it's been collected in the city. One thing I know about is sales tax referendums just by my past. As you know, as we went through the budget process this year, we were needing to grow our revenue between taking care of our employees in a time in which inflationary numbers are significant has really, impacted us and what we're being able to do. So this money would definitely benefit us in great ways and do a lot of things that is needed. It allows the residents of Goodlettsville to vote on it, not something the city commission just says, hey, we're going to increase sales tax. The thing about it, the 120 days before the election is July the 6th, which our next meeting is July the 9th. So we would have to have a special meeting in that. Talking about things to discuss, and I've gone ahead and have Ms. High as part of this, but we're having a meeting next Wednesday that would be a part of State Election Commission, Metro Election Commission, Sumner County Election Commission. And that is before you all tonight. And there's parts of this that might change. If it comes back and we learn that we should have been getting 0.25%, I'm not sure I would recommend having a referendum right now, because that is a significant amount of money as well. But that's where we are this evening, and that will be before you all for consideration.
Any questions for the city manager?
So the meeting you're going to attend next Wednesday is June the 17th, is that correct? June 17th is when your meeting's going to be next Wednesday with the election commissions?
June 17th,
Is that, that's next Wednesday? Is that what you said, next Wednesday?
I'll just have to have the final ordinance to them by June the 6th, so we'd have to determine a date to have a
No, you said you were meeting, you were having a meeting.
meeting. Oh, yes, ma'am. We're also expecting an employee of the city to be recognized at the TML conference that is on July the 9th as well, so.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Ellis? All right, Mr. Ellis.
The next item I wanted to bring to you all's attention is the disparity in which the use of our park system. As you all know, we have Ms. High here, we have Ms. Jennings and Chief Reeves, just because their participation in the subject matter this evening. But the thing that really wanted to point out to everyone is the percentages of non-residents taking part in our programs. Recreational soccer, 70%. Club soccer, 99% are non-residents. Girls softball, 76%, and boys baseball, 81%. So when everybody says, we're out of room, we need this, we need that, the problem isn't of the services we're providing to our residents, it is the issue is the non-residents coming in and using our superior facilities. It may be better to look at this on the sheet that I have before you all, but this kind of gives you the numbers over the past 5 years of each program and the residents and non-residents and how it has grown. Now you will see one number in there in regards to baseball, in which it grew exponentially, but the reason for that is they created a T-ball program that had never been in place before. So it's kind of don't reflect accurately. Currently, non-resident participation fees are city resident pays 25 and a non-resident pays 45. That is collected by the league. The problem is everybody pays the same amount of money. So if I signed up my daughter and I was a city resident, and Chief Reeves signed up his daughter and they were a non-resident, we paid the same amount of money. Because the leagues collect them and pay whatever it equals out to. And that is, the disparity in that is just, I'll just use the word unjust. My recommendation coming to the next city commission meeting would create a participation fee of $25. This would, every person playing in the league would have to pay us $25 that they collect. But a non-resident the non-resident themselves would have to pay $75 on top of that. To me, this makes it equal. It should level out the numbers as far as participation, and we'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Anybody have any questions?
I just had a question, I guess, for Ms. Jennings, or Mr. Ellis. Is this an issue in other areas around us, or is this just seem to be a problem with the cities?
It seems to be just a problem with us. We're not seeing those high non-resident numbers in other cities. There may be some percentages that level out a little bit better, but we have an exponentially high number of non-residents.
And on those fees, are they comparable to like Hendersonville with having non-residents or Gallatin?
They are.
They are?
The fees that are proposed, the non-resident fee is not comparable. It is a lot lower in other cities for the non-resident fee.
But they don't have the issue that we're having?
Correct. Even our current players' fees at 25 and 45 are still higher than some of the other areas.
Okay. Thank you.
I think I'm a little confused, and I want to make sure I understand. So the 25 and 45, does that come to us from the league?
Correct. So when someone
didn't
registers to
understand.
play baseball, it's, let's say, $100, and each person pays the same fee across the board. And then the league turns around and they send us their addresses of each player. We go in and check their residency status and send them an invoice and say, this is how much you owe us for residents, this is how much you owe us for non-residents. And
That's
they
why I was
issue a
getting confused
check.
what the same price was. I was a little confused on that. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So instead of doing the 45 like we do, we're trying to look at doing 75.
Correct, yes.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the proposed structure, everyone pays the 25. Is that right? Everyone pays the 25 and only non-residents pay 75 instead of 25? Or do non-residents also pay the participation fee?
It would be the 75 instead of the 45.
75 instead of,
The current 45 that they pay.
do non-residents pay the participation fee of 25 as well?
The league is paying that to us.
Okay, so in your, I guess the example of a player pays $100 to sign up to play and they're a non-resident, we would bill the league in that case 75?
Correct.
And then the league would have also given us 25?
No, just the 75.
Just the 75? Then who pays the 25?
Residents.
Just, okay. Okay, I think I'm confused because it is listed as participation fee and then a non-resident fee. So the $25, you could just call that the city resident fee. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah.
No, sir, the $25, at the end of the day, we would be getting $100 from anyone that is a non-resident. 25 of it would be equal to a resident, and that is more maintenance related and things of that nature. The $75 is the privilege of utilizing our facilities that our taxpayers are currently paying for.
I see. So then what I'm hearing is residents will only be, they won't just pay $25 because they'll pay whatever the league charges them to
Yes.
sign up. We will receive for residents $25 only. We'll receive for non-residents $100. Am I saying that back right?
So, simplest way to put it, someone registers for a program, the league is going to pay us $25 per participant.
Right.
And then someone that's registering that is a non-resident has to pay $75 in addition to that.
Okay, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think basically anybody that plays, is, and correct me if I'm wrong, has a participation fee, whether you live in the city or not. So we all got to pay that. Anybody out, if you're non-resident, you pay the 75 luxury fee basically playing the
In
city. So,
addition to the 25.
yeah. addition-
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think
No, I may not have phrased
answered
it
it. No, it was my
$100.
fault.
I
I
think
answered
we're all
it
on board.
incorrectly.
So we're either-
Yeah.
Basically, the city resident is now called a participation fee, correct, Sarah?
Everyone's paying that.
Yeah,
participant.
everybody's
It doesn't
paying
matter,
that,
resident,
yes.
non-resident, everyone is that
So I
participant.
think what you're asking, Jesse, I think it should say basically city resident / participation fee, it's all really one.
I think we're on the same page. So everyone
Yeah.
pays 25, non-residents also pay the 25, but also pay the 75.
Yeah.
So they pay 100,
Yes.
or we receive 100. I
Right.
don't know what they actually pay to the league, but,
Okay, got it.
all right, thank you.
We're on board.
Math.
All right. We got that covered. Any more questions on that item? Hearing none, Mr. Ellis, we'll go on to solid waste.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Ms. High, Mr. Presley, no, yes, you were on the computer when we met, right? And Ms. Jennings met with Waste Management about our current contract. So our current contract was acquired by Waste Management from GFL. Term of the contract is July 23 through June of 28. Currently, today, with the incremental CPI increases, it is costing us $12.46 for curbside trash pickup, $3.46 for curbside recycling, and a unit price for backdoor recycling is $11.74. As I noted, every July 1st, this is adjusted by CPI. I can tell you that based on discussions, based on seeing what other communities are doing, when it comes June of 2028, you're going to be looking at a pretty significant increase. So we really, to get out in front of this, we had this meeting, and we're still waiting for some additional information. But there's really, the way I see it, 4 options. Solicit competitive sale proposals in about November, December of 2027 in preparation for that contract expiration. Or negotiate a 60-month extension as allowed in our contract with the terms of the existing contract, and keeping in mind, I do still expect an increase with that, but we may be able to limit that. Won't know until we get into negotiations there. Perform a managed competition analysis to determine what it costs to do trash service internal versus external operation. I can tell you to bring it internal, and you're going to have to buy 4 or 5 trash trucks. It's going to be staggering. Or there's a 4th item that the city of Brentwood does, and that is eliminate sanitation services and allow for individual private homeowners to contract their service. I don't think we want to do that, but I will say, if we had not already gotten into sanitation business, it would be something I would seriously consider. But I think we're too far down the path for number 4. I just want to bring that before you all this evening. Ms. Jennings, Mr. Presley, Ms. High may have something they want to add, but just want you all to know what is coming and some options of how to address.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. I'm going to comment on this right off the bat. I've seen other cities that don't provide this service, and we can't let our city get trashed like that. It just doesn't seem to work. So I think we're definitely going to have to work on the 1, 2, or 3 method here rather than the 4th one. Just my opinion.
Out of curiosity, I'm not familiar with how many companies do this. So if we were to try to get bids what are the likelihood that we get several? I mean, I don't even know how many people around here.
I think last time we received 3 or 4 bids the last time that it went out for bid, and ultimately, this Waste Management wasn't the company that was selected initially. They just bought the company that we went with.
Because I know we've gone through some adjustments recently. I'm sure the commissioners on the board have got as many calls as I have, so I'm not real happy with our current company. So I just didn't know what the options were to have competitors
Well,
with bids.
I can tell you that there would probably be 3 primary companies that bid on it. And first off, I would strongly encourage, because I'll be gone if I go this route, is to make sure you use the competitive sealed proposal option for 2 reasons. One is that allows you to evaluate equipment, manpower, history, besides the price. And it also allows you to negotiate that price once the highest and best proposal is determined. Give you, for instance, City of White House used sealed bids. We use competitive sealed proposals. We're about $1.75 less a month than what they are currently. So that's where things are. I would like, just sharing this evening, they are going to provide us with some other information. But if you're asking for a recommendation this evening, I would say allow staff to have further discussions with Waste Management about a possible 60-month extension. I know we have recently had some customer service hiccups, but I can tell you, based upon the other 2 companies that we have used, they're far superior than they were, and especially the most recent. But that's, not asking for you all to, well, we can't because it's a study session, not asking, for a decision, just asking for guidance of what your thoughts are this evening.
I think I stated my opinion. Any other commissioners want to
I would
comment?
be really interested in what the negotiations you get say, like,
Kind of think the same thing. I'm interested to go ahead and, I guess, begin the process of number 2. I'd be curious to see how that starts to shake out. And then if it doesn't look like we're going to get, if it's not looking like it's going to be the deal we want, then we could
proceed
look
with
at
one.
the competitive sealed process or proposals.
I was just gonna ask, Mr. Presley or Ms. Jennings, whichever one of you guys want to speak on that, like, what option do you feel like? I mean, you guys deal with this every day.
If we had to make a decision right now, we're not in a position to turn around and buy equipment to the caliber that we need, and then also we don't have the staffing to take that on. We have struggled with this reroute. We feel like as a city overall, we offer a pretty high level of service for everything that we do, and we're really good at communicating with our customers. And one thing that this reroute has done is added a layer of frustration for our customers and for us as well, because there's been some miscommunications on different occasions. So I don't know necessarily what it would look like if we had to make a decision today. However, we do have some concerns and some frustrations, but again, we're not prepared today to turn around and buy any equipment or hire 4 or 5 new employees. And so looking at that option number 2 and negotiating an extension, what does that look like until we can really look at it internally and see what works best for us. And like Mr. Ellis said, Waste Management is the lead of the companies that typically will bid these types of services.
With that, I will say, when we took proposals in into 2002, I guess, Waste Management was the highest. They bought this contract, and they swear to me they're losing money. I don't know if that's accurate, but But if there's no opposition to this, we would probably get the information that they're going to provide to us and see where that could go going forward, and let staff come back to you all in the near future with that. But I just wanted you all to understand, if we do nothing come June 2028, it's going to be pretty staggering.
Is there any benefit to, or I guess, if we went, or if negotiations started, what's the timeline of when that should kind of begin, those conversations? For the extension, I mean.
We would begin immediately. Well, like I said, we're really waiting for some information that we're expecting from them about some analysis that they were doing on operations. And Ms. Jennings,
They are meeting next, they have a internal meeting next Wednesday, and they've promised us out of that meeting that they will have some deliverables for us and some things that we could expect if there was a negotiation of a contract.
Would we expect waste management to be one of the proposals if we went that route as well? Would they be one of the 3 or 4 that come back in likely?
sure that they would propose, but they're
There's no way to
now going to
predict
be
that.
looking at a proposal for 5 years rather than looking at something that, let's just say technically would be in 2003 to 2031. No, more longer than that, 2033. So there's some negotiation to this that will benefit them, it would also benefit us. Whereas if you put it out and it's just 5 years, it's kind of limited there.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think getting started sooner than later is better. I just don't want to be in the spot where we're kind of up in the corner and we have to make a quick decision. That may not be the most optimal. So, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more questions or comments regarding this? You good? All right. I'd say let's start negotiations as soon as we can get some information. Thank you, Sarah. All right, Mr. Ellis.
Okay, the next item, I want to qualify this before we even start, that there is no issues between us or any other fire department, but I do feel like we need to discuss some things that maybe over time has changed in regards to the fire department's calls for service. Currently, we have an automatic aid agreement with Metro Nashville and the service area that we provide. It looks something similar to that. You would think from a land perspective, the north side of the city, the north side of the city would be the one that you get all your calls, but all of our calls, most of our calls are Gallatin Road and the small portion of Mott Drive and that area there that's outside our city. Give you for instance, in looking at this, over the past 30 days, calls for service, the city in May had 52 fire aid given. In June 34. And Chief Reeves is here, can explain how that number exactly works. Metro Nashville is 6 and 0 so far in May, from what I understand. I think today may have actually been number 1. So that is really a 30-day snippet, and this is a 6-month snippet of calls for service. And we're looking at the blue line and we're looking at the red line. There are some non-fire department aid that is received, which is the tan colored line. to kind of give you, this is copies of some run sheets, and I apologize, not all of them transferred over to being white, but on this day, 12 calls, 1 outside the city. This day, 19 calls, 6 outside the city. 12 calls, 6 outside the city. 12 calls, 7 outside the city. And there was a day not long ago where I think there was only one day that was 1 call that was inside the city. My concern with this is we're spending a lot of time outside our city. We know that Metro Fire will always be there for us, but the concern could be where they're having to come from if the hall that is most close is on another call. My greatest concern with this is the development of Rivergate and the development of Liberty Lane, to me, is going to cause the call volume to go up even more significant. Chief Reeves, I'm going to stop there and see what you'd like to add.
We met today with Chief Kelly Napier, Nashville Fire Department Data Chief, for the purpose of figuring out ways to do a better job to share our data, their data with us and ours with them, so that when they analyze their zones, when they're looking for zones that need more resources, the next resources, and that, by that I mean fire stations and fire companies, that they have an accurate picture of the Madison Rivergate area as it is today and as it grows exactly as we all expect it to with the development. I think we have an excellent opportunity. The partnership is strong. I think we will have a solid picture of the data, and I hope that it's busy enough that we can receive allocation of resources in that area. But I also wanted to assure him, as Mr. Ellis stated at the start, that the partnership is strong. There's not a dissatisfaction with the partnership, because even though we respond all of those times outside the city, we're sending 1 or 2 assets, fire trucks, 1 fire truck, 1 fast car, and the like. When they respond to us, and that's the other column over there, is like 27 on the 6-month snapshot, those are times the Nashville Fire Department responded to us. And when they respond to us, that's 3 to 4 times the amount of personnel and equipment that we're sending out all the other times, right? So the numerical, the money value of what they send to us when the need arises is very large and very needed. We do not have the manpower and the staff and the equipment to fight fire by ourselves as the city of Goodlettsville. So the partnership is critical. The return on investment, I think, is sound, but city manager is exactly right. We need to be very aware of where we're going in the short-term future.
Thank you, Chief Reeves. Commissioner comments? Or any questions for Chief Reeves?
I guess Commissioner Anderson was asking Mr. Ellis kind of what's brought this up, and so you can go ahead if you want to.
Well, no, I mean, it's, every morning I see the calls that our fire hall answers, and I guess the one that it was about 2 months ago, when I think there was probably 18 calls, and I think only one, and I'm playing this off of bad memory, and only one was in our city, if I remember correctly. At that point, I realized we needed to start having this conversation, and all it is a conversation, because like I said, and as Chief Reeves recognizes as well, we have a great working relationship. It's just that district zone may have to be adjusted at some point, but that's as they work through the data, that is something that we're going to have to, figure out. And don't come tonight with an answer, don't come tonight with a recommendation. But I will say, from what I am seeing, and with Rivergate soon to be coming out of the ground, Liberty Lane is already coming out of the ground. I just see that number of calls in the, I'll just call it the Gallatin Road area, growing even more.
Thank you, Mr. S. Chief Reeves, with that data that they're giving you, when you talk to Metro, do they ever consider putting another hall on this side of town over there? Has that even been mentioned?
It's my daily prayer, sir. They're not to that point. There's not been a commitment that I'm aware of, not a plan for that, but I do know the analysis is always ongoing. They're looking at 3, 5-year, 10-year plans, so they're always looking and always making plans and basing that on the data that comes in. But there is no plan currently. And I think it's worth saying, I've had enough conversations with the city managers and enough conversations with you all, but maybe not with the public at large, to say I am firmly committed that we need more resources to maintain the level of service for the city of Goodlettsville. We need another fire hall. We need a second engine company in service every day. And that fast car has proven to be so economical in how we manage medical runs, first due, that 2 engines and a fast car is my going forward recommendation for the Goodlettsville Fire Department. I know it's going to take us time to figure that out and get there, but I wanted everybody to be on the same page that that's what I think we need.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, in fact, Chief Reeves, not to put you on the spot, what could 3 additional personnel do for your staffing, and maybe to also help with this issue that we're having right here?
So currently we have 8 full-time personnel assigned to each shift, and we're trying
8, did you say 8?
8 on each shift, A, B, and C shifts, so 3 shifts. We have 8 personnel, and we're trying to staff 8 positions every day, 365 days a year with those 8 personnel. To accomplish that, we use an awesome part-time staff, firefighters, certified firefighters that we hire and work with over the long term, but they can only give us what they can give us. They have full-time jobs elsewhere. Overtime, as you've seen in our budget, we spend a considerable amount of money on overtime trying to staff those 2 4-man engine companies every day of the year. That's the goal, but with 8 assigned, trying to staff 8, it's not quite enough. If you gave me every one you add to a shift makes that goal easier to achieve.
Also, which I know it would have the cost of the employee, but that would also cut down on, coincide with your overtime budget too.
Yes.
We could cut that down drastically.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilmore. Any more
So,
comment?
one question too, in terms of, I guess what Mr. Ellis was talking about, is discussions around shrinking that coverage area. Is that a more near-term
Well,
discussion
I
that
mean,
can happen, and that would alleviate some of the concerns?
I'm not, Commissioner Walker, I'm not prepared tonight to make a recommendation. I just know when I look at, I'll call them call sheet, Gallatin Road, Liberty Lane, the areas there immediately around that takes up a lot of calls. What I would tell Chief Reeves today is, coming out of tonight's conversation, is to continue his discussions with Metro, because this is a partnership. And this conversation is about not disjoining that partnership. This is a conversation about how to move it forward and make it equitable for everybody. I like the theory of additional firefighters, but the other part of this too is, if we're still running 10 times the number of calls to Gallatin Road, I'm not sure totally what it's going to achieve if the same issue is in place. And I think it's something that can be worked through. I'm not here this evening to say, hey, we need to do this, we need to adjust this. I'm just saying we need to have the conversation because it's kind of gotten to a point that we do.
If I could say, the reason the zones are assigned by the closest response asset. When a citizen calls 911, they get, under the current system, the closest assigned asset. And to say, well, Goodlettsville would like to shrink that, we'd pull back, that would mean that zone that we pull away from is not getting the closest resource. And as it is, we participate as an equal partner. We are one engine house among many in the Nashville-Davidson County system. So we would be giving a decidedly lesser degree of service to that zone we pulled away from.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely don't want to provide less service, but yeah, I want to help solve the issues that we're having. So I'm open to whatever recommendations are brought forward at that time.
That's a logical way to look at them.
Commissioners, City Manager, any more comments for the study session?
We appreciate this evening and opportunity to kind of put these items on the table for discussion, and myself or staff in the future will keep you updated as things move along. The fire thing we just discussed will be dependent upon Chief Reeves to navigate that, and just felt like it was just something we need to have a discussion about. And I can't, once again, thank Metro enough for what they do. It's just a matter of how it functions and move that forward.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. If there's no other comments or questions, we'll go ahead because our meeting starts in about 6 minutes and take us about a 5 or 6 minute break before the main meeting gets started. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all members of the board for this study session.